Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video. And if you find this video insightful, make sure to give it a like and share it with friends. This is a topic that affects all of us. Now, imagine a world where every penny you spend is tracked, where your every financial decision is monitored and analyzed by the government. Sounds like something out of a dystopian novel, right? Well, it's not just a sci-fi fantasy anymore. It's becoming a reality with the rise of central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. In today's video, we're going to expose the dark truth behind CBDCs, the digital currencies that governments are quietly rolling out across the globe. From the loss of financial privacy to the potential for total surveillance, CBDCs could reshape the very foundation of our society. So let's dive in and find out why CBDCs could be the biggest threat to your financial freedom. Let's start with the basics. What exactly is a central bank digital currency, CBDC? Simply put, a CBDC is a digital version of a country's fiat currency issued and regulated by the government's central bank. Think of it like a digital dollar or digital euro, but instead of using physical cash or even a regular bank account, the money is entirely digital, stored and transacted through centralized systems controlled by governments. Unlike cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin or Ethereum, CBDCs are centralized, meaning governments have complete control over them. There are no decentralized networks or anonymous transactions here. Every single transaction made using a CBDC can be monitored and recorded by the central bank. Now, you might be thinking, well, isn't this just the next step in digital money? It sounds like an evolution of what we already have with online banking. But here's where things get really dangerous. CBDCs aren't just about making money more convenient, they're about control. So why are governments suddenly so interested in digital currencies? It's not because they want to make your life easier. Central banks see CBDCs as a way to have more control over the economy and over you. Here's the thing. Central banks want to control money supply more efficiently, and with CBDCs, they can do that instantly. Instead of relying on traditional banking systems, where transactions can take time, CBDCs allow governments to implement real-time monetary policy. Let's say the government needs to quickly combat inflation or boost economic activity. With CBDCs, they could control how money flows in the economy. They could even issue stimulus payments directly to your digital wallet. But here's the catch. They could also restrict your ability to spend money based on your behavior. Imagine a future where you can only spend your money in certain areas, or where a government could track your every purchase and punish you for making purchases they deem unacceptable. With CBDCs, the possibilities for surveillance are endless. One of the most alarming aspects of CBDCs is the threat to financial privacy. Right now, when you make a transaction, whether it's buying groceries, paying for a coffee, or sending money to a friend, that transaction is between you and the other party involved. Your bank might have access to that information, but it's largely private. With CBDCs, however, every transaction would be fully traceable. The government would have access to every penny you earn, spend, and save. And it gets worse. Because these currencies are centralized, governments could use this data to monitor your spending habits and even impose rules on how you spend your own money. Let's say you live in a country where the government decides that certain goods, like alcohol or tobacco, are harmful to society. In a world with CBDCs, they could limit your ability to purchase these items. They could even go further and impose a social credit system, where your financial behavior impacts your ability to access goods or services. Essentially, CBDCs could turn your money into a tool of control. Imagine the consequences of not being able to buy what you want because of your political beliefs or social actions. This is where the loss of privacy becomes more than just an inconvenience. It becomes a real threat to personal freedom, Now, you might be thinking, this all sounds pretty dystopian, but is it really happening? The short answer is yes, it's already happening. In fact, over 80% of central banks around the world are exploring or developing their own central bank digital currencies. Some countries are already testing them, while others are rushing to catch up. Let's take a look at a few examples. China. The digital yuan is the most advanced CBDC in the world. It's already being used in some parts of the country, with the government pushing for widespread adoption. In fact, China has been testing CBDCs in major cities like Shenzhen and Beijing, with plans to roll it out nationwide. The Chinese government has even integrated the digital yuan into everyday life, allowing citizens to use it for public transportation, retail purchases, and even paying for taxes. Sweden. Sweden is also leading the charge with its e-krona. While it's still in the testing phase, Sweden's central bank is aiming to fully replace cash with digital currency. The idea is to ensure that the country remains at the forefront of digital payment systems and to limit the use of physical money. European Union. The European Central Bank has already stated that it's actively exploring a digital euro. If it moves forward, the digital euro would be used for everything from paying bills to making purchases online, and it would be completely traceable by the European government. United States. The Federal Reserve has taken a more cautious approach, but it's still exploring the potential for a US digital dollar. While it hasn't rolled out any official pilot programs yet, the fact that it's even being considered is a major red flag. So we're not talking about a distant, far-off future here. CBDCs are already being tested and developed in some of the world's largest economies, and many governments are preparing for a world without cash, where every transaction you make could be tracked and controlled. What does this mean for you? In simple terms, CBDCs pose a real threat to your financial freedom. Think about it. When you use cash or even traditional bank transfers, you have a certain degree of anonymity. Sure, banks keep records of your transactions, but they're not directly linked to your every action or belief. CBDCs change that entirely. Imagine a situation where the government controls every penny you spend. They could decide at any given moment to impose restrictions on what you can buy, where you can spend your money, or how much you can spend. For instance, the government could easily impose spending limits on certain categories. For example, limiting the amount of money you can spend on luxury items or carbon-heavy purchases, like flights or gas for your car. They might even enforce socially acceptable spending habits based on your social credit score. In the worst-case scenario, governments could freeze your assets or stop you from accessing your money altogether. If you're ever labeled as a risk, whether for political reasons or because of public health policies, you could find yourself unable to buy food, travel, or access essential services. This is not the world most of us want to live in, but CBDCs open the door for these kinds of authoritarian controls. Financial freedom and privacy are at stake, and once these digital currencies are fully implemented, reversing course may not be possible. Now, you might be wondering, what's the difference between CBDCs and cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin? After all, they're both digital currencies, right? Here's the key difference. CBDCs are centralized, while cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are decentralized. With Bitcoin, no central authority or government controls the network. It operates on a peer-to-peer system that's maintained by users around the world. When you make a Bitcoin transaction, there's no central bank watching over it. It's your money and you control it. On the other hand, CBDCs are fully controlled by governments. They have the power to monitor every transaction you make, block transactions, and even change the value of the currency if they choose. They are essentially a government-issued digital version of cash, but with none of the privacy or freedom that physical cash provides. So, while cryptocurrencies give you financial sovereignty and privacy, CBDCs represent a direct extension of government control over your money.